This is Jessie Czebotar with another special report. This special report is going to be about things that I see in regard to the Charlie Kirk shooting and assassination. Some of the things that we're going to cover are the burial rituals surrounding Odinism, as well as some of the connections I see that stand out with Charlie Kirk and Urefi, and we'll get into that. So let me quick do a screen share here. A lot of my information you can find on kingdomlivingwithjessie.com. On there, I'm always putting out series, different events. Right now, I've got the Lord Make Us One workshop, which will be for the month of November. I also have on there the most extensive series that you will find on the Luciferian Brotherhood and the Sovereign Military Order, and that's my series, Unveiling the System. So I encourage you to check those out. Another excellent resource and information that's going to be war correspondence is going to be timothycharleshomeseth.com. I want to specifically point out some of his articles leading up to this special report, starting with this one put out on September 12th, called Breaking FBI Director Kash Patel Leads a Coup on National TV. Evidence shows Charlie Kirk's shooting event planned at Turning Point Action event in Los Angeles, Nevada. Now, I want to just kind of point out some of the logos in the background that Charlie used there, and we see here General Michael Flynn. We also have a special war report. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is committing treason by definition, leading U.S. military and foreign military at the same time. Charlie Kirk murder tied to U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and InfoWars. As well as on September 11th, 2025, never forget that CIA Stephen D. Kelly accused his CIA colleague, Hillary Clinton's bodyguard, Craig Solomon Sawyer, of hijacking Flight 93 and murdering the passengers. So some of these things, as we begin to look at the Brotherhood and the Sovereign Military Order, how they work, how they operate, some of these things are going to come into play. So after Charlie Kirk's assassination, we had our FBI director, Kash Patel, come forward and, on video clearly stated, called Charlie a brother. We will meet again. Basically said, we've got the watch. We'll see you in Valhalla. And that was a very significant term, which you will find Valhalla, that term mentioned by Manly P. Hall in the book Initiates of the Flame. That is vital to those in the Brotherhood who are part of Odinism, which the Order of Odin is a specific order within the system where they're going to be at least 24 degrees or higher. And there's going to be a lot of interconnections between the sovereign military and certain knights within that sovereign military who declare themselves under the beliefs of Odinism. In several of my videos, I've shown in my decodes where, when we see in the city sigils, when we see the mountains in the background, that those mountains represent that order of Odin. So I also want to show a symbol here, the threefold interlacing triangles. This is a symbol for Valhalla. Now, what's significant about this is that within the Brotherhood, either you're in compliance or you're not in compliance. So here's where we get into some of the Odinism rituals and burial. If Charlie Kirk, was not in good standing, right standing, he would not get to go to Valhalla. That would not be something that Kash Patel would say. If he was not in compliance, the place that individuals go when they're not in compliance is called Folk Wagner, which is a meadow ruled by the goddess Freya. That's their belief. And, those that have not died a warrior's death are going to go to Volk Wagner. Now, we don't see that. We see Kash Patel saying, we'll meet again in Valhalla. So that's significant. That tells you that he was somebody who was considered in good standing. Um, in that, one of the important things is that, in order to be in Valhalla, you have to die a warrior's death. It has to be an honor. And usually, those who die a warrior's death are going to have their most important things around them. So, if they were Vikings in the past, you know, they may be on their ships, they may be with their weapons, that, their armor, all of that thing, whatever was most important to them is going to be part of their death. So it's interesting as we begin to look at the death of Charlie Cook, there's some things that we do see. First, I want to just point out some of the pictures I caught. You have pictures of his wife, Erica, at the funeral, and you see very clearly she's wearing, I believe his rings with hers, and we see a Masonic ring here, your common big G Masonic ring. She also has, what looks like a seal with a flag and an eagle. That can be used with some of your different non-Jesuit knight groups, like your Sons of Liberty, your Odinites. So then we begin to look at Charlie Kirk and some of the things that he's connected to. First, I want to kind of point out that, the American comeback, which he's connected to, they do use the lightning bolt in their symbology with the flag. That lightning bolt being a common symbol that you're going to see in different Norse or Viking Odinite symbology. So I think that's important to take note of, as well as, the different orders arrows. Arrows are a symbol of the Odinites. And what's unique about this one is you have kind of the combination of the flag with it. And with that, we see the stars there, and you get a C formation, which in the system, that usually designates a connection to councils. Your councils are going to be connected to a couple different groups. You have, your Congress, which is going to be connected to the councils. You have the Holy See, which is connected to the Vatican. You have the Mother See, which is connected to the Apostolic Armenian churches. So it just depends, if this is connected to the councils, which one is he connected to? In the Odinism, you also will see that arrow symbology, like we see it for all the national parks in the background of their symbol. They have an old Native American arrowhead, that arrowhead representing as well a cherubic sign within the system, representing one of the symbols of man, also representing the southern cherubic signs. I've gone into some of my explanations of how the cherubic signs work, how they are meant to label schools, they label public buildings, governmental buildings, they label different parishes, Jesuit Catholic churches. that run the training programs for children who are born into the sovereign military order with the purpose of showing, what is the purpose of the cherubic sign? It's to show, which military bases are connected to that church, that building, that school, where are the children going for their training. So your arrowhead is going to be connected to the south. In the United States, that would mean that there's a connection with Coronado military base and some of the southern military bases, which also could be your Antarctica, which is one of your three Ragnarok bases, the other two being Greenland and the Aleutian Islands out of Alaska. So, is there a connection with the sovereign military in that and Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA? Some of the things that are kind of significant is, as we look, it's not just Turning Point or American Comeback. There's other things that Charlie Kirk is connected to. And we see one of those being your FE. Now, this is from the assassination day. And so, one of the significant things about that is that if he is indeed an Odinite, they're going to have a warrior's death, where he's surrounded by the things that are most important to him. So think about this, that, where does he die? What is important to him? His voice, right? And his organizations, different things that he's involved in. He's surrounded by all those things. We're going to get a little further into that. So, I want to show some of the older pictures. You have a lot of symbology with Valhalla. One of the significant things with Valhalla is that when you'll see pictures of entering into, the final resting place, oftentimes you're going to see this temple-like structured door with the triangle topper on it. Now, as we get further into this, it's curious because, when you look at some of these things and even directions that your warriors are going to be laying, we see that. We see, a triangle topper here, and, we see that he would be laying down in a certain position. And I think that that is significant. So I wanted to point that out. As we get further, we see UREFI. And what is UREFI? UREFI is basically a financial investor that invests in private or basically student loans that college or university students can take out. It, is included in some of the different federal funding that individuals can get. Students also, can take out some of their student loans through UREFRI. You get them connected to your Federal Trade Commission, as well as different Regulation D filings that they're going to do through the Securities and Exchange Commission. And they're going to have state oversight, which is going to be through the State Security Division as well as State Attorney General's office. Now, as we begin to get into UREFRI, let's talk about those who are kind of the head of it. You have two main individuals, one being, and I'm probably butchering his name here, but it's Donald Fenstermaker. That's this guy right here, who is the CEO of UREFI. And then so again, Donald, um, I'll say it one more time, Fenstermaker. And then you have his counterpart, Lane Schoenberger. There also is a Nathan Schoenberger who's involved in this. And, they're going to have a lot of different connections. And, you know, Lane Schoenberger is the chief investment officer for UREFI. Um, this past year, he raised over 22 million in investment capital through several Regulation D private placement offers on UREFI. Um, so we'll say when I say last year, I think 23 through 24 is when he raised that capital. So that's quite a bit of money. And it's reported as of May 2024 um, that UREFRI had over $250 million in investor capital held by various custodians. So those are going to be those that they're giving the loans through. So who are those various custodians who are holding that money? You have accredited investors. That means that, they have an accreditation, which is kind of like an insurance backing on the money. Um, and in accredited investors, they hold 1 million. So here's the concern. If they supposedly have over 250 million in investors and accredited investors only have 1 million, who has the other 249 million, right? If the accredited are your secured investors, who's got the others, the other parts of it? So you have a newer, back in November 2023, one of the custodians that joined on is Palm Beach Hedge Fund Association. And we see their symbol, their logo here. What looks like a temple with the sun on top of it. And I've done some shows not too long ago um, talking about Montauk, and I got into um, the Palm Beach area in Florida and some of the brotherhood connections into that. So I think that this is significant that some of the things that we're looking at. So let's get back here. So um, beyond the Palm Beach Hedge Fund Association, you also have some of the custodians for your FE being the IRA and the IRA Club. Now, what is that? What is the IRA Club? That kind of sounds like a brotherhood uh, thing to me. You've got the Equity Trust, and then you have a lot of different personalities that are going to be connected to this. Um, some of their media personalities that they claim, of course, you've got Charlie Kirk. Here he is with the CEO of UREFI, Donald. But you also have some other media personalities. You've got Larry Elder. You have a big one that many of us are very aware of, Sean Hannity. Now, did any of you know that Sean Hannity is one of the media spokesmen for UREFI, encouraging students to take out loans? That's curious to me. You also have Brian Kilmeade and an individual known as Morgan, Morgonn. Um, and he traveled to talk with students about their debt. You also have two major NFL players, Jay Feely and Brandon Webb. Now, the state of Massachusetts uh, brought some legal action against UREFI claiming that there were some things that were not kosher there, and they called it an untenable business model, potentially running scams. And some of the things, specifically Ponzi scams, but some of the things that they claimed were that UREFI was using collateral for investor notes, and it was not managed by independent third parties as it claimed, but rather interested collateral agents. They also claimed that new investor funds were used to pay old investors rather than new investor funds going, um, as funds that students can use in the meantime. And curious about this case is that the company settled charges without admitting or denying anything for only 750 for a $750,000 fine. So they settled for a $750,000 fine. One of the other interesting things about this is that UREFI is connected to Rocket Reach. And what is Rocket Reach? It is a B2B contract and a company data platform that helps with sales, marketing, and recruiting, and helps professionals find names, emails, addresses, and personal info. So think about that. You've got a lot of college university students who may be using them to take out student loans, and they're connected to something that is a data platform that is used to help professionals find personal contact information. Um, so I think that's interesting, to say the least. Let's get back here for a minute to Valhalla. I've shared in previous shows that I've done that Valhalla is a very specific place underground. It's named, and its identification is actually given by Manly P. Hall in his book, Initiates of the Flame, where he talks about, across through Route 66, across Rainbow Bridge. That's how you get to Valhalla. And he's talking about it in the, secret city sense. And when you know that information, you know that across Route 66, across Rainbow Bridge, you have Valhalla, Kansas, right here in Grove County, Kansas. So um, this is a picture of some of it. It was interesting too. You have Journey to Valhalla. You see a lot of Brotherhood symbols, the monarch, the single eye, the knight's glove, fire. But that aside, you have Valhalla being a very real place in Kansas City with a massive underground city there, where, what happens when Odinites die, they are to gather for a feast. So, is there going to be a gathering there in Valhalla, Kansas? My guess is there probably very much is. So, there are concerning things with what we're seeing in this. Um, we are seeing a lot of movement of sovereign military, and I think that there's a lot of movement to shift things that have been underground. I think that some of that movement is coming down through the new Pope, Pope Leo, and where is he directing people? What is he doing? Just a few days ago, he met with two individuals, one being um, Bishop Varney, another being a Bishop Herrera, both of those being connected to a massive commission, um, which has access to underground. when we look at the overall movement, not too long ago, we saw, Pope Leo being in Rome, and we saw a mass amount, millions, and that was what was reported, millions showing up of youth showing up in Rome. Then prior to that, we saw, you know, the previous pope meeting with Bartholomew, who oversees the Orthodox Church, and we saw millions of sovereign military meeting in Warsaw, Poland. So from Warsaw, Poland to Rome, we get these numbers. Now all of a sudden, Charlie Kirk dies, and it's being reported millions gathering in London. We also saw other places. We saw, Washington, D.C. Um, we've seen a few other places where, you're getting lots of people, lots of movement. So I think that's important. Where do I think that movement is headed? I think, right here, I think that's where it's headed. And I think, that is a matter of concern. So um, I want to thank you for coming for this special report today. Again, just a lot of things that I'm seeing that I want to kind of show from the Brotherhood, the sovereign military side, that I feel is important as we look at this whole situation revolving around the death of Charlie Kirk. When you get further into this, there are further connections, and I think that those connections are important. And, do those connections connect to Haiti? Do they connect to certain other sovereign military order individuals, which goes back to things that Timothy Charles Homseth has brought out? Um, you know, are these individuals making their alliances, their brotherhood circles known? I think they are. And in that, we're seeing movement of a foreign military, a foreign government, and those who are involved in it. And, further in that, we're going to continue to see that movement and them defining things about themselves and their interconnections. This then going to, we have to pose the question. We already, know the answer. Um, our biggest concern is children. And are these individuals using events, things like Charlie Kirk's death, to move children from one spot to another? And if so, then, this very much is something that we have to be aware of. So um, I want to thank you again for joining me and for this special report, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.